Hi, so hello, I'm Chris, and I am a digital nomad who travels the world and works remotely online. And I like this lifestyle so much that I created the RemoteBase accommodation newsletter to basically help you do the same, if that's the lifestyle that you are interested in living. Sure. So RemoteBase is my way of helping you unlock the world and live the lifestyle that you want with location freedom. And the way that that works is that it helps you save time and helps you save money. In essence, like in what it really is a free email newsletter. And we basically share all of the top long stay accommodation deals. So what does that mean? Well, we have a huge bank of accommodation offers, and you just need to sign up with an email. So it's a couple of clicks on the keyboard and a couple of taps with the mouse basically makes you a free RemoteBase member. And when you do that, every month you will receive in your inbox, directly in your inbox, the best accommodation discounts that we found for that time. And we try to balance all of the best places with the best prices. Crazy deals like 50, 60, 70, 80% off, great, but they're not very good if the places aren't worth staying in. You need places where you can realistically live and work for a month or 2 months as a digital nomad or a traveling remote worker. So at RemoteBase, we try to find a balance between the best places and the best prices. So these are perfect for if you are not just digital nomading, but kind of slow madding and taking your time around places, taking 1 month or 2 months to be in a place and really explore. And then we also have our premium membership. So this is $68 for the year. A lot of subscription stuff is per month. Ours is for the whole year. So $68 for the whole year is it's like less than $6 for a month. What that lets you do is it lets you pick your own preferences. So you will get to tell us like, okay, I'm interested in South America and Europe, and I want to be in cities, or I only want to see beaches in Asia, and I need 2 bedrooms, or I need 3 bedrooms, or I only need 1 bedroom. And you can also tell us this is probably the important one, you can tell us your kind of budget range. When you do that, you don't just get the kind of free monthly newsletter at the end of the month, you get deal alerts. So whenever we find something that matches your preferences, we send it out to you. So all you need to do is keep an eye on your inbox, and when we get a deal alert, a premium deal alert, all you have to do is take a look at it. And if it's something that you think, hey, this is really cool, I should book it, that's all you do. It's as simple as going and making the booking. So this is a really good question. So the first thing is it makes life a lot easier. You can 100% go and look for your own deals and your own places to stay. And in fact, I think people should do that. I think that's a big part of learning like what you like and what you don't like. But the truth is, when you can go anywhere, when you have the freedom to work from anywhere at any time, it's actually really difficult. It's difficult to pick like a geographic place, a physical location. And then even when you have that, it's then difficult to pick property or a place to go and stay within. The world really is kind of wide open. So finding places to stay is hard, and that's number one. And then number two is like the inspiration aspect. The world is so open, and you might have some places that you want to go to. You probably will see locations in the RemoteBase newsletter that you didn't even really think of, weren't really on your radar, and they're amazing. So sometimes you see places that you would never expect to see, and they jump out at you, and you want to go and explore them. There's obviously options for places where you can go and look for deals. There's everything from like huge platforms like Airbnb. There's like 7 million active listings on Airbnb roughly, which is a lot. And then even places like booking.com now, I think they have about 1 million listings on booking.com, which focused towards like longer term rentals. When there's a lot out there, it can be quite kind of stressful. You get like analysis paralysis, where there's just so many options and it's difficult to choose. How do you know you're making the right decision? Are you going to go there and find that actually it's terrible? Like, we try to take some of that stress away. We've been doing this for a long time. I've lived this lifestyle for like over 5 years. We picked up a lot of skills over that time, picked up a lot of kind of tips and tricks on how to see if something is actually good or if it's not. And so that's at the top end. At the bottom end, there's like lots of smaller platforms where they might look really good, but you don't really know if you could trust them because they're, maybe they're really small, or they're really niche to a particular place. Maybe they're just unregulated, right? Like Facebook is a really good place that people find accommodation as digital nomads, but if it goes wrong on Facebook, there isn't really any safety net. It's a totally unregulated place. There's a lot of benefits, but I think that's maybe one of the downsides. So yeah, there's kind of this gap around mid-term rentals, like the medium-term lifestyle that digital nomads live, where you're not looking to go for a weekend, and you're also not looking for like a 12-month lease where you need like a residency permit and all of this other stuff. So yeah, that's how it works, and why I think people use RemoteBase, because it ticks a lot of the boxes where it's like, you can trust the destinations, that it's a regulated platform, and yeah, it takes some of the stress away, saves you time, saves you money, and inspires you maybe. So the process is really, really simple. It's type your email address into our sign-up box, you hit join, that's it. You become a RemoteBase member. We basically do all of the hard work. So like our process for finding the deals and kind of sit back, carry on with life, and wait for the deals to land. That is a really, really good question. I think this will depend on two things. One is who you are as a person. It's kind of like asking somebody where the perfect place to live is. Some people will like to be like in a big city with lots of things happening, and some people will like to be more kind of rural or in the countryside in a smaller community. And I think that's the same, like who you are is who you are, whether or not you're a digital nomad. And so that plays that comes into play a lot when deciding like where you should go and where you might enjoy being, where you might not enjoy being. And I think the second thing is like what you do for work, because like some people are business owners, they have complete freedom and control. They do whatever they like. Other people might be, if you're a videographer, like maybe you actually have to be in places where there is kind of good content for you to film, or if you work in kind of financial markets, like you might need to be somewhere where like internet connection is really important for you so that you can get things that are fast, or even just privacy, right? Like I've met people over the years who work in things like law. They can't use certain work, or they don't feel comfortable using certain workspaces because there's not enough kind of private space. Like they have to take phone calls where they have sensitive conversations and like confidential conversations where they can't do that in a coffee shop, right? So I think it depends. Those two things play a big part. We have some criteria that is like, these are the things that we must have. That's all of the stuff that makes it like a livable place. So like good Wi-Fi is a must. But then things like it has laundry facilities, because there are a lot of times where there's a lot of good deals that you find where actually there's no laundry. And then you have to go and figure out, okay, how do we do our laundry? It's not the end of the world, but like I think a lot of people have come to a place in their life where like having laundry facilities available is something that they expect, and so it can feel like a step back if they move away from that. We also look at things like heating or AC, depending on like where you are and what time of year it is. There are some places in the world where like you only ever want heating, you never need AC, and then there are other places where depending on what month it is, you need both. So we try to cover all the bases, and we try to cover it so that like all of our members will have something. Like there will be something for everybody. Yeah, like it would be too easy if we were just focused on like only places with the beach. Yeah, we have a really interesting spread, right? So a lot of them, I think there's like the typical nomad jobs. Like you can't necessarily work in a coffee shop. If you work in a coffee shop, you have to be in the coffee shop. So all of our members, there's like 2,000 members now, and all of them, they're either business owners or they work remotely for a company, 9 to 5, whatever. They might freelance, and they do things, all of the typical kind of digital nomad remote worker jobs. They're like software developers, they work in marketing, or they're a writer, or they work in sales or design or something like that. The list goes on there. I think that the majority of users are probably traveling either solo or in a couple, but there are definitely like traveling families who are members of RemoteBase, which I think is really, really cool. And this is part of the reason that we introduced the premium tier, because people would always say to us like, oh, I need somewhere with more room, or I need somewhere with like with this kind of budget, or they would say say to us, have you got any deals in this location? That wasn't really the way that we were operating it. The way that we were running the newsletter was like, see what's out there and then show it to you so you can decide whether or not it's right. And with the premium membership, actually what it lets us do is it lets us know from the preferences that people set what their interests are, and helps us go out and try and basically find stuff that's a little bit more tailored to you and a little bit more suited to you. Yeah, it's a good question. So what to do if something goes wrong? Well, I think it's probably important to say, in the world, things go wrong. Nothing can be 100% perfect 100% of the time. It's bound to happen at some point. And really, again, similar to life, it's kind of like how you react to that or how you respond to it that is important. At RemoteBase, because we're not a booking platform or a kind of a marketplace, and we're not even a property provider. We don't have our own properties that we own and run. We are just a kind of a point in the middle that joins the two. So we connect you, the digital nomad, to the best properties that are available at the best prices. Because we're at that kind of midpoint, all we can really do is suggest the best ways for you to kind of work within the rules of the platform. Most of what we send out is based on Airbnb. So Airbnb hosts, is at their discretion, like what pricing they have. So if they offer really insane discounts, then that's when they get brought onto the newsletter and where we share them. There are some properties outside of Airbnb that we promote and that we push out to our members, but those are like direct bookings. So it's kind of, at that point, it's like between you and the property owner to work out, or maybe there's some terms in their booking platform or in their kind of booking process. But for the majority, we focus on Airbnb. And I think there's a few key things here to mention with Airbnb. Like if you're unfortunate and things do go wrong, the first one is keep all of the comms on the platform. Like, never take the comms off platform. You don't want to have a scenario where you escalate things with Airbnb and they can't see what's been said or when or why or how. Like, you want them to have full visibility. If you do that, it kind of streamlines their process, right? Like, all of their processes are built around the fact that things happen on platform. When you take it away, it kind of creates more hard work for them, and they're just going to be less likely to kind of drive your claim process or your situation. It's going to be more difficult for them to resolve it. So keep it on the platform. It helps them help you. I think there's another thing to kind of check, which is like how emotionally kind of charging this topic is. Well, if you are traveling the world, not really living anywhere, and you're living in an Airbnb, you're going to, as humans, we're like primitive beings, right? Like, we're going to become attached to a place. You might even feel like territorial about it if you're asked to leave, or if you have to leave but you don't want to. It's going to be like an emotional time. So I think it's really important to just remain calm and try to be rational about everything, even if that means you need to take 5 minutes before you make the call or send the email or whatever. Like, do that. I think it's really important. And then there's two more points I want to make. One is like, I think these are like more like boring but important points. The first one is get insurance. Okay, like, have some travel insurance. There are a few providers out that are pretty good at this. With digital nomads specifically, you can pick those up either for the whole year, or you can pick them up based on a single trip. And if you have that, it just makes you feel a little bit more reassured. There's also, I think we'll talk about this, maybe we even talk about it in another video, but there's Airbnb's own kind of policy now, air cover, which they have on all of their listings, and like that should help the kind of the future of any potential mishaps for digital nomad accommodation. That's one of the boring but important points. And then the second one is like, basically have an emergency fund, or try to have an emergency fund. I think this one is important. I relate to this one a lot because an emergency fund is kind of like part of the financial advice that people hear in general life. Generally, it's kind of considered good to have some emergency money in case there's some big emergency and you need to spend some money on some stuff. And maybe it's easy to think that when you live as a digital nomad, like, all of those responsibilities in life disappear. Like, it's not necessarily true, right? You wouldn't start to live a digital nomad lifestyle and then you don't care about your health, or you don't care about your fitness. Like, no, it's important. You still look after that stuff. And I think an emergency fund is important here in that sense, where it's like the same rules apply. Like, even if it doesn't have to be a lot, if you can have some money that's untouched to use in an emergency, I think it's really important, because you can either get a cheap flight out of the place and go somewhere fresh, depending on how bad the situation is, or you might be able to just kind of find another place to stay for a few nights while the Airbnb situation figures itself out. Yeah, I would definitely recommend, like, where possible, don't dismiss this idea of an emergency fund. Like, it's still really important. I think there's a really simple one, which is just like, come and sign up to RemoteBase. It's completely free and it's not like intrusive, right? We're in your inbox, but we don't spam you. We don't send you like a million emails. We just send you some deals, try to help you out, try to help you live the life that you want to live, the life that we love. Yeah. And do you know the other thing? Like all of those emails, you can hit reply on any of those and you can send me an email. They all come directly back to me. So, you can tell me like where you are, where you want to go, where your best destinations are. You can say hi, tell me that you found me here on YouTube. Let's be internet friends.